So I'm Will Carroll. I'm going to be talking about Rugby League today. So first off, do any of you play rugby? Have watched rugby? Yeah, I know we've got some folks in the audience here. Everyone's probably seen videos of rugby though, so you kind of know what we're getting into. So first off, I'm going to start with just the basics here. Worldwide popularity, not as much in America, more like in Europe, Australia, but again, it is popular worldwide. Teams of 13 for Rugby League as opposed to Rugby Union. It's two 40-minute halves, and it's fast-paced physically and mentally. Most people, refer to it like a thinking man's or a thinking woman's game. Just like moving fast, thinking fast, always moving on the field. And it's kind of semi-comparable to American football. So again, it's going to be the field is similar size. You have forwards and backs, which are kind of like I think of them as linemen or running backs in American football. The forwards are bigger guys typically, bigger people, and the backs would be the speedier ones. But I have here that it's similar to American football, only man layered. As you can see there, no pads and a lot of contact. Or it can also be woman layered. It is a sport played by both genders. And as you can see, both are playing hard and competing. So then points of focus that I want to think about when I'm training them. Common points of injury: ankles, knees, hips, concussions, shoulders, basically everything. With a contact sport like this, you're going to be hurting all over. There's the potential for that. And I know anyone who's played rugby has probably been can tell you you're going to get hurt. So the games contain little rest also, and athletes need anaerobic and aerobic efficiency. So it's rather than like American football, you're moving more often. There's not much breaks. You don't take a break between every play. You're always if you're not sprinting, you're jogging, things like that. You always want to be moving on the field. And then the training is going to focus on explosive lower body power, especially pulling movements because of the tackling, and then injury prevention just because it is such a sport that's prone to injury. So my annual plan here, I direct you to look at your handouts. It's kind of hard to see here, but basically competition, I said it's going to be about beginning of March to end of May, beginning of June-ish for a collegiate setting. So it's kind of long in season, but the focus is going to be maintenance and injury prevention or rehab. And then you're going to have a recovery period over the first half of summer break for athletes. And because of this, we want to let them go home, so we're not going to be training year-round. And this is just kind of conditioning, hypertrophy, what you'd expect for people, to be going home by themselves. They're not going to want to, hit their max squat over summer break. They're going to be, just going to love pump, maybe some, hypertrophy work, playing basketball or things like that, just kind of conditioning. So I'm not too worried about that. I give them some guidelines, but nothing, excessively structured. Then intro is when they come back in the summer. It's going to be speed strength, so kind of, getting back into weightlifting, things like that. Then max strength here in the off season, which is in the fall mostly. And you're going to peak towards right before winter break, so in December. You're going to want to peak, test. That's when I have testing. So testing, 1 rep maxes, speed tests, things like that. And there's going to be a deload over winter break and during finals for our athletes, and that's just again, same idea as summer break, that they're not going to be they're not going to want to be having to worry about lifting when they're worrying about finals and things like that, or when they're by themselves. And then in the preseason there, kind of January, February, just getting into conditioning more again and things like that. So, and then I have here volume, just kind of basic lines showing volume increasing kind of more over the summer, intensity, going back and forth, and then predicted fatigue there, which I just did, by multiplying volume, intensity, things like that. So here the off season, emphasis on power development and GPP, general physical preparedness, and the intensity. We're going to gradually increase to high, so we're not going to start them in the off season by testing their maxes. We want to start at maybe like 70% and work up to 95, 100%, when we test. But I'm kind of keeping the intensity high. Volume's also going to be high because they're not practicing in sport as much, and the frequency is going to be high as well. Again, because this is their main thing. So 4 or 5 times a week. This is going to be focused more on strength rather than like explosive power. That'll also be a component, but it's mostly going to be deadlifts, squats, a lot of bilateral, not as much unilateral yet, things of that nature. Overall, I have Swiss bar bench press in my program all the time, just because I feel that's easier on the shoulder, having a neutral grip, and rather than kind of getting out here where a lot of athletes will wear their elbows, and get some shoulder pain from that. And then so the preseason, again, GPP, we want to get more conditioning in, they're going to be practicing for the sport because they're getting ready to compete, right? So intensity, medium to high, still putting some weight on the bar, about 75 to 90%. Give or take volume, low to medium, still getting a lot of work done, but not, because now they're practicing for the sport as well, so not as much. And frequency, medium, about 3 or 4 times a week, depending. This is going to be when I introduce more, cleans, jerks, snatches, and unilateral movements, more emphasis there, and more injury prevention, so things, like banded, four-way hip, mobility, things like that, just kind of, make sure their muscles are staying safe. And then in season, we just want to maintain the power, so they're not getting weak, but also not killing themselves, because rugby, a very physically demanding sport, you don't want to be, going so hard and burning out in the weight room. So maintenance and injury prevention or rehab, depending on if they're injured or not. And then intensity, medium to high, still keeping some weight on, but not filling them with volume. So volume is going to stay low, and frequency again low, about 2 or 3 times a week. And this is again going to be not as much heavy movements, not as much back squats, more just speed strength is what I'm going to focus on here. All right, any questions? You can see here I have well. Yeah. Well.
Can you explain again how you're calculating fatigue in your annual plan?
All right. So this is nothing especially scientific. I just did volume on a scale of 1 to 10, and then intensity on a scale of 1 to 10, which would be percentages. So 75% would be 7.5, and I did volume times 1.5 plus intensity divided by 2. So because volume is going to make you more fatigued than intensity overall, doing excessive volume. So I just kind of based off that and just kind of get a general idea. Nothing, not too many like specific numbers, but just a kind of gist of where we're going to be. Any other questions?
I like how you talked about using the Swiss bar for bench press. Do you have any alternative in mind in case you have a smaller school where you don't have access to?
For sure. For that, I'd say a dumbbell neutral press. You don't have to necessarily keep the elbows in, but just keeping that to kind of reinforce, having the more tight posture than, getting out here and flaring, things like that.
What are you going to do to protect the shoulder and the AC joint?
Yeah, so with the shoulder especially, for that I'd say I have some kettlebell work, and one thing I have is a bottoms up kettlebell press. So you're going to have the weight of the kettlebell above, and you're going to be holding by the handle. So it's going to be a lot of stability, just working tempo with the dumbbells too, and just kind of moving slowly, just getting, building up some muscle around the shoulder, kind of keep it safe without trying to, impinge it so much. And also a lot of back work, just to kind of, keep the shoulders in good alignment, keep the scapula, both sides strong.
Okay. Any questions?